a few books and going to a few seminars and
Right.
people saying, start saving now, start investing now, invest now,
Absolutely.
invest early, do it as much as you can, whatever. Even if it's just a few dollars, you need to start investing now. And so, first of all, one of my mistakes, because I didn't understand money, is, well, what's a few bucks going to do?
Exactly.
You know,
I echo what you're saying. Absolutely. How is that going to change? Or do
right.
it later. I can do
Yeah.
it when I'm in my 40s.
Yes. My thinking was once I start making money,
Right.
I'll start investing then because at this point, I've just gotten done with some college and I'm just trying to get my feet wet and my career launched and this and that. And so when you tell people save for retirement, I think that's the wrong message. At least it doesn't work for people like myself at that time who don't
Absolutely.
understand money. And so I think that a message that
Yes.
might, and I say might have
Yes.
worked better for me would be, hey,
Yes.
start saving now
Absolutely.
so you can have the lifestyle that you want. Or what kind of lifestyle do you? Well, that's the time
Yes.
to. So
Yes.
again, a perfect example are my kids. So we have
Yep.
5 kids,
Wow. God
and
love you.
thank you. And really, God bless my wife. And so
God bless her.
Congress got upset with he's a billionaire. And so they found out that in his Roth IRA, he's got like $2 or $3 billion.
Yep.
And that upset them. I mean, Chris, who does insider trading on a daily basis,
I
who
know.
who are fairly wealthy individuals themselves,
Yes.
the two people that made the most noise are, again, people who have significant wealth. And so Elizabeth Warren, she said, oh, it's just another rich person trying to take
Mhm.
advantage of the system. First of all, you guys set up the system and everybody should be taking advantage of it, but they don't understand it. And this guy did. So he bought a bunch of PayPal stock. He was one of the founders of PayPal. He bought a bunch of PayPal stock through his Roth.
Right.
It's worth $2 or $3 billion, and so Congress is saying we may have to fix that because we don't want people taking advantage of it. I'm thinking how ludicrous
Right.
that a bunch of government people would stop their citizens from saving and investing money. To me, it's ludicrous that if you and I want to put 10 or 15 or $20,000 a year in our Roth IRA, we can't. We are prohibited depending on how old you are, it's either 65 or 75 or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But how crazy is that?
You're
That they're going to
absolutely
tell
right.
you, no, wait, you can't save that much money. And anyway, so back to this Congress, there was this possibility that Congress was going to change the Roth IRA rules. So for Christmas, my wife and I we offered our kids to start their initial Roth IRA.
Very nice.
Out of 5 kids, one of them took us up on it.
Oh my gosh. And guess what will happen?
Right.
Guess what will happen? If you mention it every year, I bet you every few years, one more will continue. Who has saved what? 4-1. Wouldn't you say that is going to be the best lesson?
Yes. It is, and
Really amazing. You're right.
it is, and so I just think with all the things that are taught in school, both I would say, and let's just say junior high and high school, I think there's a lot of fluff that's being taught. And one of the things that I appreciate about, I have a friend at the homeschooling. She's got 4 kids. She does homeschooling. Her and her husband do it, and one of the things that I appreciate about the homeschooling program is that if your child has an acuity or an interest in science,
Mhm.
they can get more science stuff.
Hmm.
If that child is really into math, they can get more math
Mhm.
stuff, or maybe
Mhm.
they're more musically inclined, or maybe they're more into writing, and so they can customize their schooling to
Yes.
help encourage that child in an area that they're already interested
Mhm.
in or gifted in. Where in our current public school system, it's one size fits all, and if you don't fit in it, then you're messed up. You're kind of outside the box. You might need it might be a special needs, or it might be this, or it might be that, or attention deficit, or some other
Mhm.
disability. And then we have, and my point to all this is that a lot of the stuff that they teach doesn't make sense. For example, if you and I want to have a music degree in high school, we're still required to take high level math, which I consider high level math, algebra, geometry, things of that nature, which we're most likely not going to use. And so I think that definitely in high school, we need to start teaching money principles. We need to start
Absolutely.
really just beating them on the head. This is how it works. So if you're able to save just $100 a month, that means that instead of retiring at the age of 65 or 70 and being broke, like our average Americans are, you might be able to retire at the age of 35 or 40 with a couple of $1 million.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. The great news is 23 states in the US have mandated, and you may know this, they have
I do.
mandated that a high school graduates have to take a financial literacy class before graduating. That's great. And
Yes.
truly, I'm not kidding you. I could care less if they use my book or not. But when I wrote this book, which is for the everyday person, because I was a wannabe 10 years ago,
Right.
what happens is they will at least get a grasp. I can guarantee you. I don't care if they are going to work at Panera after college, if they're going to go on to college, if they choose to graduate from college. I can tell you, being somebody who didn't know a thing and had my money literally under the mattress and in certificates of deposit, I knew nothing. And the funny thing is, it really is a language of investing. We truly could have learned this in the 8th grade and understood it. I'm not kidding you. It's
Yeah.
so easy. And when I say easy, I'm not saying you take money and do it, but it's so easy to understand. And this is something, if we only have a listener learn this, it's worth being on your show. Did you know that one of the 6 reasons that people don't invest in the market is because they have student debt and they believe they should pay that off first? And they're
Yes,
right. You know that.
yes.
However, did you know that within the last 12 to 24 months, there was something passed, a law passed in legislation called, and it's in the book, first chapter, Secure, S-E-C-U-R-E, Secure 2.0 Act. You can look it up online. I was stunned and I was thrilled to have found it before this book was published. The Secure 2.0 Act allows companies to match or to contribute to an employee's retirement fund based on the amount that on which they pay their student loans. Can you imagine? Yes. Now, the deal is, does a company do it? And I will mention, I'll ask individuals, does your company do it? They said, we don't know. How are you going to find out? And if they don't, you need to get a petition with individuals who have student debt to be able to say, we work here. This is something very important for us. We would like to continue to work here. However, we know your competition does have it, and this is a very important thing to consider. So think about it. Paying student debt, I don't care what the amount is, and they can figure it out based on what their companies are willing to match. How magnificent. So when I tell you, there is no reason to not invest in the market. And here's many people say, I can't afford it. Let me tell you, that's the second reason. I didn't have student debt. I used every single reason possible. I can't afford it. What I finally realized is this: it's not how much you make, it's what you do with it. I Uber more than anything in the way of transportation, living in New York City. I'll say, people say I don't have enough. I said, let me ask you a question. You pack a lunch or buy a lunch? I buy a lunch. Oh, so how much you spend? Minimum of 15. How many days do you drive? 5. Oh, 6. Did you say 6? That's $90. $90.
Right.
You pack a lunch at home, buy a loaf of bread, buy turkey, buy whatever you're buying. I convinced so many of them, you have to do this. That's $90 times 4, 360. 360. Or you go out to dinner, you know what? Don't go out 5 nights a week. And when you don't get an appetizer, get a main course. But this is enough. You know, when I tell them this, they get it. And then one young man, if I may share, just last week, I said, so what's your 5-year goal? He said, my 5-year goal is to have enough money to put down for a mortgage. I said, correct. Are you doing it? And actually, yes, he is doing it. However, when I broke down and I asked him about he packed a lunch, he bought a lunch, he really only had to save, it was working to earn $56 more a day. Just earn $56 more a day. You'll have $90,000. I think it was within 4 years to put down for that $300,000 house. That's a 30%. My whole point is, you know what? When you put it in everyday terms, this is important. However, the time to begin, and did I believe it? No. Do I know now? Yes. The time to do it is immediately. Do you
Yes.
know, Bert, if I may, and I'll stop talking. My grandchildren are 11 and 16. When they were 7 and 11, I was so into this because this book took me, Want to Be Investor, took me 3 years to write. I said to them, you're going to be smarter than me. You certainly, I didn't know this when I was 7 or 11. No more toys for me and no more clothes. You're going to get a share of stock, or if it's an expensive stock, I will give you a fraction. That means part share.
Right.
And you will be very wealthy women someday. Well, guess what? They now have 19 stocks. They have a charm bracelet, and each charm, 19 charms, they have an apple. They have a share of apple. They have a little Starbucks cup. I said, you buy the stock, not the coffee.
Right.
They have a local grocery store. I said, so how's your Kroger stock doing? They said, we don't know. I said, don't you look at the parking lot? If it's full, that means. I'll give you one last thing. I said, you have to do things that help people understand. The very first stock I gave them was a Disney stock because I figured Disney, even though they've never been. 2 weeks after I gave them the stock, the older one said to me at 11, she said, my Disney stock's growing. I said, congratulations. How do you know? She said, because we went trick-or-treating and there were so many kids with Disney costumes.
Oh, how smart.
So, the point is, you do it now. And you know what? Like, why would you have all those toys when kids much rather play with pots and pans or whatever they're playing with when they're babies? Do it. So Annie, didn't mean to take over there. However, I want your listeners to be financially literate savvy.
Yes. And my journey, just real quick. So when I really started getting into it, I got a couple of memberships at Motley Fool, and there were, I think, $300 to $400, $300 to $400 a piece. And they helped me. And then I started studying Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett, I think, is a genius because he really simplifies investing. He says, look, this is the way I do it. He talks about he'll spend hours, weeks studying not the stock, the company, the people involved. And he says, if you're not willing to do that, buy the S&P 500.
Exactly.
And just make it easy. Nobody, he says, there's not too many people out there that beat the S&P 500. And I got rid of my memberships and I just follow Warren Buffett. And so whatever he buys, I'm buying, obviously on a much, much smaller scale. And to your point, when you mentioned fractions, this is something a lot of people don't know. If a stock that you like is trading at, let's say, whatever it is, $400, $500, $1,000, $2,000, you can buy a fraction of that.
Exactly.
And it is a great way to get into that stock and get to know the company. You still get all the investment literature. You can participate in the investment calls. You can participate in the annual meetings if you want. And it's really a great way of, again, playing a little bit bigger than without breaking the bank. So
you're absolutely right. Now, I want to piggyback off of what you said. Number one, I want every listener to put on their bucket list to attend a Berkshire Hathaway meeting, which is, of course, Warren Buffett's. That was my dream this past May. It's always the first weekend of May. Have you ever been there?
I have not been there. I was thinking about going last year, and somebody was going to make some arrangements. It didn't happen, but it's on my list as well.
Well, let me tell you, here's what you do. I'm going next year. I've already made my plane reservations for next May. All right. And I go coach. I'm going to take that extra money. Instead of going first, I'll invest. I own all of 3 shares of Berkshire. And let me tell you, what you do is you get a pass. In fact, you get 4 passes. So if you don't do it, let me know. I'll meet you in there and give you one of the passes. Your wife goes, be happy to give her that 3rd pass. Just tell me so I can save them. And what happens is it's the most magnificent thing possible. So what happens is some people think that there's Berkshire A and Berkshire B. You're going to want the B because the B is right now, I don't know what it is. Let's say $300-400. And so the key is one of the things that's important for your listeners. And this is why I really want them to read this book, The Want to Be Investor. And listen, $10 is not going to change my life, but I guarantee it will change theirs. That's on an ebook. What happens is this. Many, not all, but some brokerage firms do not allow a partial share to be bought. Now, I know Fidelity does. I'm sure other ones do. You simply have to make sure. And today, we're not going to go into AI because that is my favorite topic besides financial literacy. You can go on ChatGPT and you simply say, does Fidelity Investments allow shareholders to buy fractionated shares? And they say, no. Which brokerage firms allow fractionated shareholder to buy fractionated share? And you do that. So the key is this, but nobody is allowed to buy a share of stock until one, they fund their organization's retirement plan. They max it out every year. So if they are allowed to put, let's say 5% of their pay and they make $50,000, all right, that means they're allowed to put $2,500 in a year. And let's say they get paid twice a month. So that's a little more than $100. That would be $100 a month, okay, or $25 a week, and divide that into 7. That's nothing, $3, a little more than $3 a day. So the point I'm making is they have to max out their pension plan. You're not allowed to buy a stock until you max it out every year. And if you say, oh, $3, I'll pack a lunch, or I will do shopping therapy at TJ Maxx and not buy anything unless I have a gift card. That's the case. The other thing people must do before they even think of buying a single share of stock is to have a minimum of 3 months of an emergency fund. So
Why?
that means look, you know what happens. Look, we live in an apartment in the city. We just bought a washer and dryer. Did we think we were going to? No, you have to have a minimum of 3 months of an emergency fund. Yeah, we don't have a car because we're in New York. However, you know you're going to need new tires. You know the battery's going to go. You know all the things, minimum of 3 months. Then what you do, you read the book so you're prepared. And then you ask yourself, and I'm going to go back to Warren Buffett. You must buy stocks you understand. And on page 75 to 80 of the Wannabe Investor, it also says you must, meaning I do this, okay, you buy stocks with a moat, M-O-A-T. Do you know what a moat is, Bert?
Yes.
Okay, good. Would you explain it? And I'll add to it.
Okay. A moat is basically I don't know, it's a safety feature that goes around the castle, or in the business world, a moat would be a competitive advantage, something that is hard for your competitors to break down.
You're so right. And you know what? Most people didn't know this until the mid 90s when Warren Buffett spoke to a group of finance students at Columbia University. And Professor Greenwald invited Warren Buffett, and he asked Mr. Buffett, he said, Mr. Buffett, how do you decide what stocks to buy? And Warren Buffett said, I only buy stocks with a moat. And when he asked what it was, he said, let me give you an example. Apple has a moat. Why? Because it has name recognition. 1, because it has a network. That means we have an Apple phone and we can communicate with our iPad, which also is part of the cloud. That's 2. It has intellectual property. God only knows. Apple does. It's very challenging to make the shift. So it's very difficult. Example, we want to buy Samsung. Do you know what it takes to change everything? Are you kidding me? That's another reason. So there are several reasons, and that's what a moat is. Now, I'm going to tell your listeners this. People say, what should I buy? And I say, I'm not you, I'm me. So in chapter of the book helps you to identify, are you low risk tolerant, medium risk tolerant, or high risk tolerant? And if you're low risk tolerant, then you may have a very small percentage of your investments in stocks. If you're medium risk tolerant, then you have more than somebody who's low risk, however, less than somebody who's high risk. And I'm going to tell something, you might know this. I read, I believe CNBC, I read about this. Individuals younger than 44 typically prefer to, other than the maxing out their pension, they prefer to invest in real estate. Individuals over 44 prefer to invest in equities and stocks, which is fascinating.
Yes.
So the key of the C is there something right or wrong? No. Should you do both? Yes. And I know there's a listener out there who is a business owner and says, I don't have a company because I work for myself. And I say, you darn bet you better get started on your Roth IRA. And a Roth IRA lets you contribute. It's so important. This is like Greek. And when I tell you, it's incredible. When I say to you, and I say this from my heart, Because at this point, when I'm talking to your listeners and telling them about this book, The Wannabe Investor, I have to tell you, I have, yes, it's on Amazon. I have no webinar to sell them. I have nothing to sell them except to help them create their own success. And I've had more people when I've been on podcasts email me or text me, because I say, as long as you don't say something silly, I'm more than happy to answer your questions. I care. I genuinely care. That's what it's about. And they can. Could I give my email address so they can email me anytime they want?
Certainly.
Thank you. Anne Marie, ANNMARIE @ and then my name, Anne Marie Sabath with 1B, SABATH.com. So it's Anne Marie at AnneMarieSabath.com. And this is what they can email me any question. Now, it's important. They should read the book. Okay. However, let's say they feel good. This is a nice thing about this book in a simple way. Do you know people can actually read the Bernie Siegel's book, who's the professor at Wharton? He's in the 6th edition of his book, Stocks in the Long Run. I didn't understand that until after I figured out what these 50-cent words were. This is what happens. You can do this. And this is the case. Do you know, I have to say, if there is a listener out there, I'm going to smack you if I ever hear you say this. I don't have to learn about this because my husband does it. Are you really kidding me? Are you really kidding me?
And sometimes it's the reverse, right? I don't have to do it because my wife is doing all that. And you know what? I can't remember in which book, but I remember there was a tragic tale of a scenario where there was a husband and wife and they got divorced. The husband failed to update his beneficiary.
Oh my gosh.
He passes away. His beneficiary was his ex-wife. So his new wife didn't get any money. So not only are you wrong because the person that holds all the knowledge could drastically disappear out of your life, but a real quick pointer is make sure you have your beneficiaries up to date.
In a heartbeat, yes. And it's so important to always do that, to continue to update them. At the same time, it's important, even if people, there's a whole chapter in here about working with financial advisors. Good. If you want to work with a financial advisor, you should do that. There are a lot of different types of financial advisors. You need to at least understand what they're saying so you do not nod and say, okay, you should be able to ask questions, intelligent questions. So many people are intimidated. Do you know that so many people do not even open their monthly statements because they don't know how to read it? And guess what? An entire chapter about how to read your brokerage statement, because these are things I didn't know. So I figured if I didn't know it, there's another person or two in the world who don't. So this is very important.
I want to, first of all, for everybody listening, I'm going to put all these links and Marie's email address in the show notes and things like that. Now, you wrote another book that, let's see, hold on, where did it go? It's What Self-Made Millionaires Do That Most People Don't Do. It's 52 ways to create your own success. Thank you. Yes. Got cut off. All right, so let's talk about this book a little bit as well, because I like the fact that there's 52 ways to create your own success. And one of the things that I do love about this book, I started reading, is that you go through and I think we could just do a whole thing on the misconception of what people think millionaires do with their money. And one of the things that tickles me is I've had the pleasure of hanging around people that are way more successful than I am. A couple of them have their own private plane, and most of them have a considerable amount of wealth. And as I observe these people, even with the people with the big toys, they're still pretty frugal with their money.
Good. You're right.
They might stop at a coffee shop, but unless you bring it to their table, they're not tipping the tip jar.
Here's the deal. Let me tell you why I ended up writing this book. I wrote What Self-Made Millionaires Do That Most People Don't, because I have a friend and she was always late. And I don't do late. I don't do windows and I don't do late. And she always complained about money. And I thought, how could this be? And I couldn't say to her, you need to be early. I would always show up early, always be kept waiting intentionally, because people who are kept waiting make others feel vulnerable. When you need a favor, they're more likely to say yes. So I said, I need to figure out what it is that she does that, and in fact, I dedicated to her, that self-made millionaires do better. Well, number one, self-made millionaires, and here's the deal. If you can manage your time, you can manage your money.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I was late for 35 years. I was born 2 weeks late. I was late for my wedding. Not really. I got out of the house like 5 minutes late. Remember my parents yelling at me. Come on. Anyway, get to the church on time. And what I realized, I was 35 before I said, I can never be late again, because I started a business which lasted for 33 years. I realized something that I want your listeners to hear. You ready? You never will be late when you write down the time you have to leave, not the time you have to be somewhere. That's what you do. So
That's a great
example,
tip.
I promise. So I knew we were going to begin talking today. So I made sure that I said to myself, I will be accessible 15 minutes ahead. So that was the time that I wrote. Now, another thing is this, if I want to talk the most important ones, when I say the most important, the ones that I want your listeners to do ASAP. I want them to do whatever they do, find their passion so that their work feels like play. Because you're going to get burned out if you don't. Now, example, I love telling people what to do. That's what I've done my whole life. And once I closed my business, I continued to write more books because I love telling people what to do based on what I don't know, based on what I didn't know that I learned. Now, another thing that is essential, and I know so many of your listeners will nod when they hear this podcast, you must manifest. You must do this. Document your goals and tell no one. Most people talk it and they don't walk it. And so if there's somebody listening, what I want them to do is they may say, okay, I'm going to give myself 30 days. What is my 5-year goal? Don't tell anybody. When they figure out what it is, and remember, if you don't know, it's not the answer, it's the question. There are many times when I need to move forward. I've accomplished my goals. Like, now what? It's like, not the answer, it's the question. Once you know, you document your goal, you put it under your mattress. You put it, the little note, in your wallet. If you have a car, put it in the glove compartment of your car by your registration, and put it in the notes section of your phone, and then act as if. I have manifested cars. I've manifested my poor husband. He didn't have a chance. He didn't have a chance because I knew exactly what I wanted. I tell you something, I guarantee you, manifestation works like no other. I wrote something down about, 2014, and I went into a wallet I don't use anymore in my dresser. I tell you, it was like, OMG. I had that note. I opened it because I know what I want subconsciously. And it was like, OMG. I am 1 month away from accomplishing it. Now, remember, that was 10 years ago, 2014, and I did it. And let me tell you, you never stop. You always do things for the good of all. And until you get what you want, another one of the 52 secrets is you always pay things forward. I was at Whole Foods. Somebody was getting something to eat. And I was getting, God only knows what I was getting, whatever. Let's say, I don't know what it was. I was getting flowers because we were having company, and she needed to get a spoon napkin. So I went over and got a spoon and napkin. I said, here we go. She looked at me like, what's wrong with you? I said, I love helping people. And my point is, that's paying it forward.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm not doing it to be a Pollyanna. You do it if you know. I help people cross the street if they're slow, let's say, or remember, it doesn't matter. Help. Do it because this is the right thing in life. And let me guarantee you, and I'm sure you do this, Bert, when you need something, I promise it will be there waiting for you. But
Yes.
you have to pay it forward to get it. You have to put in the universe more you owe me's than I owe you's.
Yes. And I believe that's one of the things that we were put on earth to do. There are many religions out there, and they all have the common goal of servicing other people. And there's nothing better than giving somebody service that doesn't know you. They're not going to be able to repay you. There's a spark that happens. You feel good. They feel good. It's a win-win. It's an
Absolutely.
awesome thing.
It's an awesome thing. Exactly. And I want your listeners to know you always pay it forward. You know what? If you have to think something positive, if you think something, oh, that person looks good in red, then you say,
Yes.
you really look good in red. Let me give you two more things. One of the self-made millionaire secrets is they have passive income. And so after I wrote this book, and I take 2 years to market the book, I make sure a minimum of 10,000 copies sell before I get the next one. I might write it before I even think of having it published, assuming my publisher will do it, is you must have passive income. And so passive income includes investments, things that will grow. Now, I want to tell you something. I live in New York, I told you. I go shopping every single day in my closet. You got it? Every day I go shopping in my closet. And so I'm not going to wear something that's cashmere now. So I put all of those winter things away, basically just on a higher shelf because we don't have a lot of space. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to wear that new wardrobe.
Right.
My point is, you don't need new things. I have shoes that I've had for so long that the shoemaker, I've had them rebuilt 4 times. The shoemaker says, you need a new pair, and we're not fixing these again. They're finished. And listen, my point is, buy less, pay more, let them last. Buy
Yes.
things you can wear year round. And so this is what self-made millionaires do. And listen, because your listeners are listening to this podcast, I know they have several of them down to a science, because a self-made millionaire learns something new every day. They're listening to you today. They're listening to what it takes to be successful. They're listening to what the wannabe investor is about. And so, you know what? Some people try to dig into your pockets, run as fast as you can. Some people will give you an investment tip, run as fast as you can, because that's not you. But you must learn something new every single day. And again, we talked about paying it forward. Be a minimalist. If there's something you haven't worn for 2 years, put it on eBay, give it away, give it to Salvation Army. My clothes are so loved that they won't even take my clothes at Salvation Army. They say too loved, because I wear them. I love my clothes.
Well, one of the things I started doing this year, matter of fact, is, and I got from somebody else, but you go through your closet and you hang everything in kind of the opposite direction. And when you use it, you hang it in the different direction. And at the end of the year, you can look and say, look at all the clothes I didn't wear. And then you make that decision. Do I give it away, sell it, whatever? That to me was a glorious idea. One of the great things about living in New York, I used to live there in Manhattan many, many years ago, is that because space is, what do you call it, valued, right? As space is so limited that it forces you to be more minimalist.
Exactly.
And that's a good thing. It really is, because we don't really need as much as we think we do. And this is a situation that I think happens to a lot of, when you're living that college life, and you're so used to stretching every dollar, and you're so used to just being frugal and broke, that when you start making the new career money, you want, oh, I deserve it, so I'm going to buy myself this and that, and you get into debt, and you have a new car or maybe some credit card bills, and you take the big vacation.
Yes.
And that's great. I'm not saying you don't deserve that, but there may be some better things to do. And I'm not saying don't do some of this stuff, but maybe don't do as much. To your point, do less. And again, as we're preaching today, invest some of that, because
Exactly.
there's a great little meme out there. And I think this can be applied to a lot of different situations. But the gentleman or the person who wrote the meme was talking about the Tesla S, a Model S, I believe, and it was selling for like 70 grand. And of course, he says that in 5 years, that Model S will probably be worth about 10 grand. But if you take say $70,000, 5 years later, if you would have bought, no, that's what it was. If you would have bought Tesla stock with the same $70,000 in 5 years, you would have had a couple of million.
There you go. And so this is the case. And here's one of the things I want to make sure your listeners remember. You're right. It could be Tesla. I want them to do this. They must diversify. So put no more than 10% in any one stock and in any one business sector. And they'll see there's a whole chapter, because there are 11 business sectors in the stock market. And with that said, they want to study it. This is like learning a language. If you know the phrase, do you speak French? And I don't speak French, parlez-vous français? That doesn't mean you're ready to go to Paris. That means you are learning, you're going to learn French. And so it's the same thing with investing. Say, you know what, I'm going to wait 2 years. I'm going to wait until I max it out. It can be 5 years until I have a minimum of 3 months of an emergency fund, not when you get a new job and make more. It's when you pack a lunch. It's when you have people over for whatever you're having, have dinner, and then they reciprocate, or everybody does a potluck. But something I have to make sure your listeners know, and this is what self-made millionaires do. What they do is they do not put on their credit card anything that they will not see at the end of the month. That means they're not going to put food on a credit card because it's not going to be there. They may put, maybe they're buying something for their kitchen that they're going to use. Maybe they're going to buy something that they mapped out. And the other thing that's critical, so put on there what you know you're going to see. Otherwise, pay in cash. You have to make sure that's a big one. Or if you're, this is just really important to do. The other thing that is essential is, again, what you want to do is, if you're going to, people don't write checks anymore, but make sure you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. So many people who, to your point, have private planes, have that. You know what? Some of them are living in such debt. And I'm going to give you a scenario. I have a cousin whose father worked like a dog. He was my mother's brother. They were so poor growing up. They were lucky if they got an orange or a pair of socks for Christmas. Well, long and short of it all, 50 years later, he owned more land except for GM in his area. And so his daughter, who still, she showed me something the other day. She bought this credenza from Home Goods when she said it's $400. I could have bought something for $4,000, but why would I waste that money? She still, you think like you're supposed to. She had a cousin. They came into a lot of money. She ended up having houses in 5 different states. Everybody's your friend when you have money. They lost all the money. Her cousin ended up on welfare. The only difference is how they did it. It doesn't mean they don't go out to nice restaurants. It doesn't matter that. My point is, you know what? You want to do the right thing. And I can tell you firsthand, when you add that extra zero to your life, and it will happen. If you're 35, by the time you're 50, if you do this consistently, you'll be amazed. And I can tell you, we could talk all night, and I know we can't do that. However, you have to read this book, because let me tell you something. I just give you a scenario. There were twins. They were given, I believe, $10,000 from their grandmother. She said, you're not allowed to sell it for, I believe it was 25 years. One twin, Jason, took his dividends. So a company will give you dividends as a perk, as a bonus. His female twin will allow the dividends to reinvest. When the end was there, he had taken out $250,000 in dividends because maybe they wanted to go on vacation. Maybe they wanted to do this. The other, I don't know what his twin sister did. Maybe she used cards, maybe her credit cards earned airline points or maybe hotel points. I don't know what she did. He ended up, after that amount of time, I believe it was 25 years, with $400,000, okay, by letting that $10,000 sit. She ended up with I don't have the exact amount, I can look it up, $4 million by letting the dividends be reinvested because they were compounded, meaning they multiplied. So you have to do this. Again, do you have to? No, but why not have a good ending? And I'm going to say one last thing. I can tell you by doing this, and I have done it religiously for 10 years. I had some money, didn't have a lot, but I had some, okay, that I had saved since the time I was 42 by maxing out my pension. And I was a business owner. And you know what? Once you add that extra zero to your life and you can afford it, you still think the person who can't afford it. I just sent my husband to Nordstrom's because I needed more makeup base while I was making dinner. And he said, what are these? I said, oh, these are 2 gift cards that I got from my credit card I saved. And now it's $100 gift card and 2 notes. He said, what's that about? I said, why would I pay the full amount? My point is, you know what? You treat your money like your most precious commodity, because the first thing we have in life is health. You have to have good health. Your family's critical. You treat it like a commodity. And by doing that, you will be able to, if you have children, your children will learn much more from what they see than what they hear. So you do things that are fun. However, you do it because it's the exception. It's not the rule. I want everyone to be successful is all I can tell you. And we can all do it. We just have to want it. And we have to have knowledge by somebody who's not going to try to snooker you.
Sure, absolutely. And again, this is one of those things that needs to be beaten into our society, because back in the day, they call it the greatest generation. These guys saved. Saving was the thing that you did. You saved and invest, you saved and invested. We got away from that. And now we have this programming that says, hey, you go get into debt so you can get a college education so you can get a job and then live happily ever after. Of course, now, just recently, a lot of companies are saying, we don't even care if you have a college degree, because after 30 or 40 years, we've realized it doesn't make that big of a difference. You still got to train people. So things have changed. And once you put on the frugal, mindset, so you realize a couple of things. First of all, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. They don't even care. They're not worried about you. They're worried about them. And they're probably going to, they're not going to, say anything because you're frugal. And if they do, who cares? Because at the end of the day, it's how much money you have, and that money will give you peace. It will give you power. It is a wonderful thing to have. One of the things when I was in sales management, and you have these young people that are coming in and they want to buy a new suit. What I would always tell them, and to this day I do the same thing, is go to the nicest areas of town, and you'll find a Goodwill in the nice area of town. Right. You can go in there and you get yourself a nice suit, and you'll spend 20, 30, maybe $50 getting it tailored to your fit. But now you have a nice suit for 50, $60. Exactly. So that is my go-to. The last 2 pairs of jeans I bought at Goodwill. Exactly. And nobody cares. Nobody says, hey, those pants look like you bought them from Goodwill. And if they did say that, I'm not ashamed of it. I like saving money, knowing that instead of spending 50, 60, or $100 on a pair of jeans, I got it, I think, for $12. That's great. One of the other things.
Yes,
that's right.
I want to tell you how they knew they were from Goodwill, because they bought them there too.
That's right. And one of the other things, when my wife and I go out to eat, on many occasions, we split the appetizer and we split the entree, depending on how big it is. Now, my eating has changed. When I was younger and more athletic, I would eat more. I don't eat as much. And so it's easier for us to split the entree, especially if some of these portions are huge. Now, if they're smaller portions, there's nothing there to split. But I want to say 80% of the time we split the entree, 80% of the time we split the appetizer.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of different things. But back to these misconceptions that millionaires all go to, for example, there's this misconception that they've gotten a leg up because they go to the most expensive Ivy League schools. And it's not true.
It's not true. And you know what? The key is, you don't want to, for individuals who are in their 30s who say, I'm not going to split because I have a big appetite. Well, guess what? Don't order an appetizer. Have that second piece of bread and get a nice main course, a hearty main course. Or if you enjoy a glass of wine or whatever you enjoy, have a glass. You don't have to have 4 of them. Say to yourself, this is what I'm going to do. And you budget. You say, this is what I'm going to be spending a week going out to eat. And the other times, today with hybrid, you don't have to spend that much. You should be eating at home. Again, in New York, we go out to eat at least 5 nights a week, right in our own home. That's the end of it. And we're going to do tomorrow. You must be listening to us, Bert, because I just said to my husband, we're going to a movie tomorrow night. I said, why don't we go to that Greek restaurant and get the same thing we had? And he said, what's that? I said, don't you remember? We split a Greek salad, which was enough for 4 people. And we split a lamb kebab. And because there were 2, he could hardly eat them all, eat what he had. The point is, you're not being cheap. You simply are being practical, or you're going to take it home for the next night. So yes. This is what self-made millionaires do. And they take time to think. These are some of the main ones, but document your goals. And I must share this. You must surround yourself with people you want to be like. When I
Yes.
started my business, let me tell you, there were very few business owners who were women. So what I did is I bought books by women owners and I read about them. How did they do? What did they do? Of course, male owners, of course. However, I wanted to know what I needed to do so that I was taken seriously. So you don't have to know somebody. Today, you go online, you ask ChatGPT, give me 3 books that were a great article about a business, female business owner who grew her business to XYZ. So the point is, make positive, you surround yourself with people you want to be like, and make sure you mentor. When you mentor, you want to make sure that you are accessible for people who want to be like you.
Yes, absolutely. Again, I've had the pleasure of hanging around a gentleman named Wayne Huizinga, who Wayne Huizinga is, if he's not a billionaire, he's got to be fairly close. So at one point, Wayne Huizinga he was running Blockbuster. He had taken over Blockbuster. Before that, it was Waste Management, and he has been very successful. Does he drive a nice car? He does. Is it the latest model? It's not. It's, again, he does have some trappings of wealth, but at the same time, he spent 20, 30, 40, 50 years accumulating that. It wasn't like he was spending it as quickly as he was making it. In a lot of cases, he was driving a beat up car for many years while some of his employees had nicer cars.
And that was all right. But you know
Yes.
what? The key is you do have to enjoy it along the way in a
Yes.
very good, because coffins don't have pockets. Your children will spend it like mad unless they have learned the work ethic and values from you. And
Yes.
yes, it's important to enjoy what you're doing. However, recognize that less is more. I can promise you firsthand, the chase is so much more fun than the catch. And you are saying the same thing. You can
Yes.
buy a designer pair of jeans, but you know what? You love the chance. You love the chance to be able to find that chase. Let me see if I'm going to find a nice pair of jeans at Goodwill. And you do.
Right.
That's half the, that
It
is
is half
so
the
half
fun.
the fun. Without question.
Absolutely.
I want to make sure, I know your listeners learn something from you that's incredible that they can apply every single time. I want your listeners to please do whatever it takes. And I want them to know you're never too young to invest in the market. That means set something up, buy a stock or a fraction, a part of a stock for children, and do something that they're going to. One of my grandchildren wanted to have something related to animals. I didn't know. We weren't doing Chewy. I could have. So we ended up looking at stocks, and I bought her a portion, a fraction share of General Mills because it has a pet division. And so so she got a little cat as her charm. And so what I'm saying is, you want to make positive that you educate people early. And while schools are important, we need to do it by our actions, because we said this already. Children learn more from what they see than what they hear. It's educating ourselves, and it's learning, recognizing what it's going to take to be financially successful so that you can help your children. And I'll give the last thing I've seen. It's critical once you have earned enough that you can take care of yourself, your future, your children. Self-made millionaires are philanthropic. They give back. And by giving back, maybe they make a donation to their favorite charity. It doesn't matter what the amount is, they give back. And so by doing that, it's a full circle. So again, these are not difficult things. It's not about the money. What self-made millionaires do is about their habits. And so that's why, and this is what I told the person who is a producer with a major television show that I'm not going to name. She just didn't know how she was going to do it. She finally changed her habits by writing down the time she was going to leave and all of the la-di-da stuff we've talked about.
Absolutely. And I do want to hit that again. Writing down your goals, writing down what time you're going to leave is essential. It is, first of all, so there's something magic that happens when you write down your goals. Your brain is more locked into it. Some people call it energy, some people call it vibration, whatever, manifesting, whatever happens, it is magical. And also humans, we forget really important things. because I hear people say if it's important, you shouldn't have to write it down. People forget anniversaries, they forget court dates, they forget airline tickets. We forget a lot of important things because we have so many things going on. So writing
Absolutely.
it down, if it's important, write it down. It only takes a few seconds. And one of my favorite places to write it down is right there on my phone. I can see my goals every
I love
day.
it. You're
Uh,
right.
and then I also use the mirror in my bathroom. I write things there. And so it's a lot of fun. And look, one of my goals that I accomplished like 2 years ago took me 25 years to complete.
Now, let me ask you, we're not allowed to talk about our goals until we accomplish them. So will you share the goal that you've accomplished, Bert?
Sure. When I was younger in my 20s, I entered a bodybuilding show and I wanted to do it again. And it took me roughly 25 years to do my second show, but I had written it down. And life, first of all, the priorities would change. It's important. It's not,
Yes.
it's super important. It's not that important. As I explained to Anne Marie when we got started, my wife and we have 5 kids. So when you're juggling career and 5 kids and all the other stuff, sometimes things have to be put off, but it was always there. And I was able to finally accomplish that goal. I competed and I was lucky enough to place in the top 4. So I didn't win, but still I was excited to finish that goal.
You were
And just
yes. Bert, I have to interrupt you. I
go
have to
ahead.
interrupt you because I want your listeners to hear something you said, and then I'm going to correct you. You said you were lucky to achieve that goal. Guess what? You create your own luck. You work
Yes.
like a dog to
Thank
do
you.
that. So
Yes, I
I'm going
did.
to say we create our own luck. One other thing I'm going to say to build, and I want your listeners to hear this. You said it's very important to document your goals. I want to give them a perspective, just like you document yours. When you think about what you want, you're 1/3 of the way there. It's a thought. When you document your goals, it is a tangible. You see it. You see it.
Yes.
It's there. So when you look in the mirror, you see that goal. When you look at your phone, note such, you see that goal. So it's a tangible. That means you are 2/3 of the way there. The thought has become a tangible. The last third, you're not going to say, I can do it within 5 years. I can do it within 2 years. You simply say, this is my goal. And I always say later, if I think I can do it in 10 years, I'll say 15, because it's better to under promise and over deliver so that you're not disappointing yourself. And so the last third will happen and you're working on it subconsciously. So right
Yes.
now, Bert is 2/3 of the way where his next goal is, because he's thought about it and he's documented it. You're 2/3 of the way there. That is the secret. The last third happens because subconsciously you work at it, and because call the person God, Buddha, Allah, power, universe, whatever it is, it so happens. If we can leave your listeners with this, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So many people think that writing stuff down doesn't make a difference. And I think that it makes a huge difference. It's been proven time and time again. And for people who are watching and listening, try it. If you've never written down your goals, write them down. And even if you forget about them, there's something magic. Matthew McConaughey, there's a great video, and he talks about he had written down one of his goals, and like a lot of times it happens, he misplaced the paper that he wrote his goals down. He found it again, it's 10 years later, and everything on that list had come true.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, you're so right. And one of the things that people realize once they know, when they are in sync, their words are so powerful because your word is your wand. Florence Shin said that in a book that's age old. What happens is when you ask for something, when everything is aligned, it happens. It's magic. I'm going to give you a scenario. I hired a narrator for a book that's coming out because I have a small publishing firm. It's coming out October 1st. We hired her. The author decided she was the one. And so we had a conversation telling her she was chosen. And she said, when will I get the final manuscript? I said, the editor's working on it. You will definitely have it as soon as I get it. And it should be, and I knew it'd probably be by last Friday. I said to her, you will have it easily by Tuesday. The minute I said that, I tell you, I couldn't believe it. I got an email, ding, it was the editor who had sent the finished manuscript. And I said to her, You wouldn't believe it. She said, what? I said, the second I said you would get that manuscript, it came. She said, have you ever heard of the book, The Artist's Way? I said, you bet your bottom dollar. So my point is, you are aligned. You have to believe it to see it.
Yes.
And again, and you know what? And bless, and please, and this was the last thing I have to say with Self-Made Millionaires, be grateful for what you have to thank
Yes.
for what you have in order to have more. But sometimes just be happy. The greatest wealth is health. It's like the best. This is what it's about. You know what? You make something, just recognize this is what it's about. And again, once you know how to invest, and it's like a turtle, that you don't have to have a lot. The turtle won the race compared to the hare. Go slow and sure, and it's there. So I'm going to share that again, and I know you'll tell your listeners, anytime your listeners have a question, there's no hidden agenda. I'm not going to ask them for the email addresses. I'm not going to do all that nonsense. They are welcome to email me, and I guess I'll get that. And they're not going to get any spam from me because that's not how I operate. Remember, my goal is help other people. That's my goal in life. I'm refired, not retired, and that's what I want to do.
Excellent. Okay, so let me ask you this. So if somebody has, let's say they have $20,000 in their investment account.
Yes.
And it's performing well, but they also have $20,000 worth of credit card debt.
Yep.
Do you sell the equity, pay off the credit card debt? What would you suggest?
There are different ways of looking at that. First of all, the average, according to Bernie Siegel, and this is in the book, the average, it depends what their credit card debt is. They may have 18% credit card debt. You know what? They darn well better pay it off, because if they're going to make over a 20-year period, average 6-point-some% a year, and they have 18% credit card debt, they better pay off that credit card debt. That's the end of the story. And first of all, you know what? You have to have a credit card. I don't care if you put $15 a month on it, because that is the way to build your credit score. You have to build credit. You have to build a credit score. And by doing that, you have to owe something and pay it. And something that most of your listeners don't know, I didn't. My daughter's a bean counter. She's an accountant. And she said to me, Mom, what you want to do is, let's say you owe $500 on a particular credit card. You can pay it a week early, and that's going to help your credit. However, if you pay $100 or $250 twice a month, or $100 before it's due 5 different times, it will actually it will improve your credit score more than if you paid it on time, because your debt to credit ratio goes down.
And also on that same theme there, every time you make a payment, so again, taking the same $500, if you paid it, again, you're paying it $100 a week. Every time you make a payment, it resets the interest rate. So in some cases, when you're paying multiple payments per month, it drops the interest rate a little bit, but a little bit can sometimes make a difference. So
Exactly.
absolutely.
So there's so many things that people need to learn. I'm going to do one more thing, and this is not in the wannabe investor. However, I learned, if you have a mortgage, and let's say you have whatever you have, let's say, I don't know, $3,000 a month mortgage. If you pay $1,500 middle of the month, let's say the beginning of the month, and then the other $1,500, this is for the following month. Or let's say you owe on the first of the month. So you take $1,500 and you pay for the second month. Let's say for September, you pay August 15th. You pay half a month. You have half to 2 weeks ahead. By doing that over a 12-month period, you will end up having an extra, how can I say it? You will actually be making an extra payment, because the interest will be less because you're paying it down. I don't know if I said it right, however, that's an important thing.
Yes, so absolutely correct. And again, it's the magic of this compounding interest. When you're making these additional payments, it does something with the interest rate. I think also that if you make an extra mortgage payment per year, it takes your 30-year mortgage into a 20-year mortgage, saving you tens of thousands of dollars in interest payments. I think there are several experts out there that they like having a 15-year mortgage. I don't agree with that. I'd rather have a 30-year mortgage and then pay it off in 15 years. That's what I prefer to do. but whatever works. And
Whatever
something
works.
that you said in the very beginning is find out what works for you, because everybody's different. Everybody's got different goals and they have needs. So find out what works for you. All right, let me ask you this, Marie or Anne Marie. What were you doing prior to becoming a best-selling author? Were you always in finance? Talk about how you got started and how you got to where you're at today.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to burst anybody's bubble. I was never in finance. Here's what happened. Okay, I owned a consulting firm and I told people how to be successful through etiquette for 30 years. And the way this whole thing came about is when I retired and my partner, my former partner passed away, I like men. And I decided after 6 months, I was no spring chicken. I said, I want to find a partner. So I joined eHarmony, which is a dating service, and I wrote down exactly what I wanted, manifested the poor man. Okay. And so what I did is we met, we dated a little while, and he's retired from the New York Philharmonic. I actually upgraded big time. He's from the New York Philharmonic, hired under Leonard Bernstein. God rest your soul, but it is true. Anywho, and so what happened was he had retired, and I said to him, so what do you do? You don't pizzicato all the time. What do you do? He said, well, I've been invested in the stock market. I said, for how long? He said, 55 years. I said, you've got to be kidding. Nobody, and he didn't tell anybody because his wife wasn't interested. She was interested in teaching, raising the kids. It wasn't on her list. His kids could have cared less because they just didn't get it. They weren't at that stage. So I said to him, I have to learn how to do it. Will you teach me? For 10 consecutive years. That's up until last year. And he still teaches me 10 consecutive years. He taught me something. He would say, he'd forward an article to me, read this. He would teach me if we were together after dinner. We weren't very interesting. We go back to his place or my place, and he would teach me about technical analysis. And then I could hardly wait to do that. The whole thing. And let me tell you, this book isn't boring because there are 40 Alanisms because his name is Alan. And if you put an ism, if you put something, a prefix or a suffix at the end of the word becomes a word. So there are a lot of Alanisms. However, again, it's not a dry book because when I was writing about bonds, I said to him, tell me about bonds. And he said, I'd rather talk about blondes. I said, that's enough. I have a deadline. Stop it. And so my point is, I learned, when I tell you 10 years. So in the 7th year of learning, I said, wow, I bet there are a lot of people are like me because I learned that 40% of Americans are not in the stock market. And so I said, I have to write this wannabe investor because everybody's not going to have access to you. So I wrote it and then I'd ask him questions and then I'd write it. And I had 3 editors to include one who is an independent contractor with Motley Fool. I had to get it right. I had the most critical people who knew about investing reading it because I had to get it right. And so that's how it came about. So that's, again, I'm not a financial person. I'm not going to say, let me have your business so I can manage your fund. No, I'm an everyday person. And let me tell you, who learned an extraordinary thing and added, as I said, I'm not bragging. I simply want your listeners to know, added a 0 to my net worth because for 10 consecutive years, I did this. And again, I do not trade stocks. I invest in stocks. I keep a minimum, have a minimum, and I probably have 10 stocks max, and they're in different business sectors. And so my style is different than other people's. This really works. It's an everyday language. People shouldn't buy it and start investing. Say to yourself, there's actually a 1 hour a year strategy that's in that book. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing. However, it's a whole chapter, Dogs of the Dow. That means the dogs of the Dow. You do it the first business day of the year. And I took maybe 10% of what I had, and I tried it the first year because I was scared to death. And so my point is, it's an everyday experience. Most people don't have time to watch their funds. Take something or do virtual trading. Write it down and pretend you bought it. And then every month, see where it is. And then after 12 months, see what the average would be, not even counting the reinvestment.
Yeah. And one of the things that you've said is this decade that you invested in learning. And the thing that I learned from Warren Buffett and from any other expert is that Warren's a big on, there's no point in trying to time the market. That timing the market is where people get hurt the most, and so he says, I know that I'm going to buy Apple today, and in 10 years from now, I'm going to sell it for more than I bought it for. That's all I know. And so
Absolutely.
he's thinking 10 years. Most people are thinking a few months. They're like, oh, my stock went down. And and this is something that you mentioned earlier about investing in companies that you know can trust. So if Disney, you believe in Disney, you believe in Coca-Cola, you believe in these companies, and so you bought it at this price and it goes down, that means it's at a better deal. Buy it again. Buy it again. I love chasing down a stock that I believe in and getting that my average cost way down. And then, as it comes back up, I feel like though I've done something. So absolutely, it's that mindset of you invest and forget it. Just leave it alone.
You're right. And you said it. Warren Buffett's saying is exactly that. It's not timing the market, it's your time in the market. And that's why 10 years is essential. It's essential. And again, do not let somebody give you a tip about a hot stock, because again, run. You have to know yourself. It's like same thing for clothes. You have to know, what is your style? Do you like this or this? It's your style. It's what your comfort level is. Can you sleep at night? That's the key, with confidence. And so again, what Alan taught me is not, his style isn't my style. I had to identify my style. And that's the case. However, my recommendation, there's a whole chapter in the book, you should not buy a newly issued stocks, newly issued publicly traded companies, because that's when a company grows. And if you want to help it grow, then buy it. However, if you want to buy a stock that is established, then buy a stock, and I've said it, this is the third time, that's a minimum of 10 years old. That's what Warren Buffett does. Why would we go against the master?
And so the way I like to look at IPOs or newly issued stocks is I just, what you're talking about earlier, I watch it. I just put it on my watch list. And so what typically happens is the stock, again, comes out, and because people are promoting it, it's going to go up and then it's going to come back down. And so this is an advanced thing. I do it very infrequent. I do it very cautiously. And so if I see the stock go up, I will short it for just a little bit. And this is just a cash grab. It's not an investment strategy per se. You can lose quite a bit of money by shorting a stock. And so anyway, if you watch an IPO, you will see that within a year, that stock that was at maybe $100 or $50 might be at $5 or $6. And again, if you believe in that company, now would be the time to buy it. Look, at one point, Tesla was at 25, 30 bucks.
That's right. That's right.
And I didn't buy it at 25, 30 bucks.
That's right. And you know what? And you're absolutely right. Some people know the word Nvidia, which is the AI stock.
Yes.
Listen, some of us bought it. I'm not telling you what I bought it at. However, cousin bought it at $15. I bought it at $34, and I've had it for 10 years. And it went to $1,200. And then and we need to talk about a split. People think they would rather wait until a stock split. So if you had one share of Nvidia, oh gosh, beginning of June, first week of June, and it's for $1,200. Some people say, oh, I'll wait until it splits. You could have bought 1/10 of a share, a fractionated share, for $120. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's no more valuable when it splits. It's simply that if you had one share of stock at $1,200, you'd have 10 more shares. You have 10 shares of stock because it's split 10 to 1. So the key is, you want to learn about this, and then you have to learn something new every day. I watch CNBC the minute I get up before I even have my coffee, because I love Squawk Box, and I will listen to many of these. You have to decide what's your favorite. Charles Payne is at 2 o'clock. You can listen to his podcast when most of us don't have the time at 2 p.m. Listen to things noon to 1. If you're having lunch, then have lunch with whatever it's called, noon to 1 at CNBC. You don't have to believe everything everybody does. Listen, and then you decide what your strategy is and decide who you want to have as your mentor. And to your point, I hope that we've shared things with your listeners to know you have to get your feet wet. Don't jump in. Wait a year, wait 2 years. Simply listen and see what it's about. And I'm going to tell you, all these 50-cent words people try to intimidate you. They're not 50-cent words. They simply may be maybe 3-syllable words. They're not difficult. If you can learn a language, you can learn how to invest in the stock market. It's strictly the language of investing.
Right. And to your point, if you are dealing with an advisor and you don't understand,
Yes.
ask.
Yes,
If the advisor makes you feel stupid, get a new advisor. They
exactly.
work for you.
Yes,
And so there are different types of advisors there. And so the one that I feel most comfortable with is a fiduciary, one who's got a fiduciary designation, meaning they can't do anything other than help you, as opposed to, let's say, just a plain stockbroker. He can sell you whatever he's going to make money on.
right.
He doesn't have to look for your best interest, but somebody with a fiduciary designation has to look out for your best interest. And that to me is, first of all, it's great that we have that designation, but it's terrible that not everybody has that same standard. That if I'm a stockbroker, I can sell you whatever crap I want as long as I make money on it. And the standard is, except I forgot what the standard is, but it's the lowest standard. And bottom line is, it should be, if I really care about my customer, I should be looking out for my customer, period, all the time.
Exactly.
But anyway, it's not always that way. So if you're dealing with somebody, they're making you feel dumb, get a new person. There's just too many out there to choose from, and it is learning a new language. It is learning something new, and you might have to hear that word 3 or 4 or 5 times before you go, oh yeah, I understand what that is now. I now understand what a reverse split is, or I understand what a 10-for-1 split is, or whatever the deal is. It's not that difficult. Something else, you get into it, you start playing in the sandbox, and you'll understand.
You're right. And I want to build on what you said. It's important, if your listeners have a financial advisor, you want to ask them, are you a fiduciary? And if the person says yes, you'd say, I would like you to send me documentation. If the person is not comfortable with that, then I don't know that person has that designation.
Good
And
point.
this is essential, because if somebody who is a fiduciary, I mean, your interests are in his best interest. And if they're not, that person will actually lose his license.
Right.
So this is essential. You can do that. And again, there's an entire chapter on that. I'm looking at the table at the glossary, the index, and it's right there. 139, page 139 to 145, real important. Absolutely. So again, it's raising levels of awareness. That's what it is. And again, we can all do it. We work too hard for our money to have somebody who might not even have 2 nickels to rub together manage your money. Are you kidding?
Right. And again, we work too hard for our money to let somebody who doesn't care about us mistreat us, abuse us. The way most of these stockbrokers make their money, they make money when they sell you a stock or buy a stock on your behalf, and when they sell it. And so, again, be aware of that. And there are some different financial instruments that I wouldn't mind talking about this, that are, let's see if I got the right, what's the right phrasing here? It has to do with the commission structure, or the load, the fee. Some of them have low fees, some of them have no fees, some of them have high fees, and they don't necessarily disclose them very easily. So if you could maybe talk about this a little bit, because this is so important. You might be, I think a lot of the 401ks are like this. You might be investing in a 401k and that the average out there is 6%, but then you look at your statement and you made 2%. The reason why is because there were some fees in there that took most of your money.
You're absolutely right. And I fight with people all the time. Again, I don't manage their money, but they say, oh, I have a mutual fund, or I have an ETF, I don't pay. In this book, we did the advantages and disadvantages of each type of financial vehicle. Savings account, checking account, those are the safest. Bonds, treasury, the mutual funds, etc. And some of the disadvantages might be, okay, people have to make money, don't kid yourself. But again, in mutual funds, there are management fees, and they are in such fine print that you cannot even see them. You cannot. But you know what? These people have to make a living. Now, you can manage your own. If you say, I'm going to put this in and that's the end of it, then you have a call center. Example, with these brokerage firms like Fidelity, Merrill Lynch, Schwab, they're all very good. And there's a whole list of brokerage firms that are credible. All right. What happens is you can actually open your own account. You can fund your account and have it go automatically, the money go automatically from your checking account, even when you get paid, automatically to that. You're not fun, and you say, okay, I'm going to buy 10 stocks. I'm going to see, or I'm going to do dogs of the Dow once a year. But you put things on paper, try it for a year before you do anything, or it's all right to have mutual funds or ETFs. It's all right to pay people if you want a small fee. If you make money, then that's great. It's just like, Alan always says he loves paying taxes because that means he made money. So the most important thing is you want to see, but don't ever kid yourself. There are definitely fees with these. So again, don't fool yourself into saying, no, we don't have it. People have to make money. So mutual funds, definitely as ETFs, they do have fees, management fees. If there's somebody responsible for your brokerage account, they call you once a year to see how your tennis game is, listen to me. They are definitely getting a commission. And it's all right. Or when they sell it, they are. The key is just know that. Don't look foolish going in.
And to your point, these people are doing their job to make a living.
Yes.
And I don't mind somebody making a living. I do not. In fact, one of the deals that I have with one of my brokers is I will pay him his full commission if I execute a deal that he brought to the table.
Very nice.
He found the stock and we buy, then he gets his full commission. Great. However, if I buy a stock, if I do the research and I execute a stock, then he gets a much less a discounted commission because I did all the work. I'm taking all the risk. Now, what I have done lately, and I want to say lately in the last 5 years, is I started moving away I started using Robinhood.
Mhm.
Now my bank Chase has a free trading as well. And even these guys with their free trades, they're still making a quarter of a penny on some of these trades.
Right. Absolutely.
And they're making a fraction of money, and that's how they make their quote free trade happen. So nowadays, you don't really even need a broker. To your point, if you feel comfortable buying for yourself, investing for yourself, use Robinhood or go to your bank. They probably have something that's very comparable that allows you to buy. You can have a Roth IRA. You can do, besides a Roth IRA, you can just have a basic trading account and make things happen for yourself. And
absolutely.
I love the fact, Anne-Marie, you're basically just focusing, or not focusing, but just repeating, guys, you don't have to invest everything today. Start a little bit here, a little bit there. Get over that fear and buy companies that you know. Don't buy the stock to try to make money, make the quick buck tomorrow.
Exactly.
Buy for the long haul. Hey, you know that Coca-Cola is not going anyplace if you like Coke, or maybe you're a Pepsi person. There are a lot of great companies out there that pay dividends. Again, Coke is one of them. Apple is one of them. There is something sweet about that dividend check or that dividend amount. And I remember the first dividend I got was like 59 cents or something. I was like, woo!
That's right. And you know what? And again, remember, you don't use your dividend. Now, some people, Alan does, is he does not reinvest his dividends. He keeps that in a pot, meaning in his account. And that's what the extra money that he uses to maybe invest in a new stock. So everybody has a different strategy. Not me. What I do is if I know XYZ stock paid a dividend, I want it to get that back. So what happens is that money is reinvested. So I may have an itsy bitsy more of a share, maybe a percentage of a share of that dividend. However, it's so important. Again, some brokerage firms require a minimum for you in order for you to open an account. Others don't. And so listen, there's so many, use the call center. They're open 24 hours a day. And I'm going to say, I like banks. I would not open a brokerage firm through a bank, because there's going to be something. Oh, if you have any questions, let me know. That person's going to be getting some. Call an 800 number. I'm telling you, the Merrill Lynch, the Fidelity, do that, because while the stock that you use, maybe they buy and sell so many stocks that they're going to get a discounted rate, and they're going to help you with that. I'm simply saying, don't buy anything. First, read the book. I don't care if you read somebody else's book or my book, but read the book and then watch something. I don't care if you read one article a day. First, read the book. I met somebody this past weekend, and you should have heard me. Here you're in Arizona. I was in, where was I? I was in Cleveland. And I gave her my business card, and it happens to have on it, and this is anyone who's an author has to have this, So here's my business card. And on the
Nice.
other side is the QR code that
For the-
with my name, address, that goes directly to Amazon. And she said, what's that? I said, don't worry about that. Here's the contact information. When you come to New York, let me know so we can get together. And she said, wait a minute. She said, let me see that book. I said, what do you mean? She said, I have that book at home. And I had never met her. I said, that is an author's dream for a stranger to have the book at home. That was the first time that happened with this book. My point is, you learn something. And I said, well, why do you have it? She said, because investing is something I don't understand. I just don't understand. And my dad was in investments. He's passed away. God rest his soul. She said, I just wasn't willing to listen to him. My ears were not open to listen. And so I said, I have to learn. I said to her, you read the book, and we're going to spend 2 days together. And I'm not going to tell you what to buy, but I'm going to explain to you when you decide. So again, this is so important. And again, you will all have Alan, because you're going to see what a wannabe investor needs. And the only foolish question is the one you don't ask. That's such a simple phrase. You have to do that. I'm learning 24/7. It's so important. There's so many great podcasts out there. We've taught you so much today through this podcast. And again, email Bert, email me, ask any question you want.
I love it. I love it. We're going to end on that note. Like I said, I'm going to put everything here in the show notes. If somebody wanted to reach out to you or go to your website, what's the best website for you?
Thank you. It's my name, AnnMarieSabath.com, www.AnnMarieSabath.com. And it has my books. And so they can email us as contact. They can email me anytime. And I'm there for them without question. And it's also in the back of the book. So it's ready for you. Actually, you also have that, because I always forget about this one, but you can also go to the wannabeinvestor.com. And so, because that actually goes over to my AnnMarieSabath.com. So most important thing, let's help other people, and they in turn can pay it forward.
I love that so much. Anne-Marie Sabath, thank you so much for stopping by today. Looking forward to having you back.
I'd be honored. Thank you, Bert.
All right, we're out. That was good.
Yeah, you make it so easy. It's
Oh,
like
thank
having
you.
a nice conversation. So do you and your wife ever come to New York? We'd love to have you over.
Oh, that would be great. We haven't been to New York in a long time. I used to love going to New York. We lived there, West 18th Street. And now that we're on the other side, I jokingly refer to Las Vegas as my New York, because they brought in the Broadway shows. They brought in the super nice restaurants. They brought in, what do you call it? These art shows and stuff. So
Nice.
instead of going 5 hours towards the East Coast, I'm an hour away. And so I haven't.
And why not?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. But something I really want, I'm serious, you and your wife to think about is buy one stinky share for $400 of Berkshire Hathaway, and you can get your own. In March, they send it. Or if you say, I'm not going to buy it, anybody who goes, I had 4 passes, 4. And let me tell you the best part of it, because you can watch it, stream it, Yahoo Finance. I went on Thursday, the entire flight that was delayed, that we were in the wear and that we have to stop. Nobody complained, because probably 95% of those people were going to the conference. The best part of that conference is getting to know the people. They are you. They are me.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, women have to go. That was the only time in my life I never had, there was nobody in line, because most of the people there were men. I still communicate with somebody from South Korea, from Vancouver, from London, from Denmark. We're all in line. The show is called Shopping Day. The show, you just go around and talk to these people, whether it's Pilot, which on the freeway, Pilot, Harmon Homes. These prefab homes for $260,000. All you need is the land. You can't believe it. Like sell my apartment in a minute. If I had a piece of land, I could easily buy land with that. But I'm telling you, C's Candy, which was the person said she'd been there 22 years and thinks she was all of 35. And she oversees the online business. She said it's Warren Buffett's favorite company he owns within Berkshire. And Charlie was the one who convinced him to buy it.
Oh, that's cool.
When I tell you, it's so much fun meeting the people. As long as you have a pass I've never been in a sorority, but it must be like you were in a sorority or fraternity because you talk to anybody, anytime. It's just so much fun. I can tell you. And you know what? Omaha small. I had the same Uber driver twice.
And when do they have their annual? Did you say March?
First weekend of May.
Oh,
Always
first
the first
weekend.
weekend of May. So I'm
All right.
telling you, you and your wife want to go, and they don't do hotels until August. And then I love, like I stayed at the Hilton, I stayed at a boutique hotel because they let me market my book. I had peripheral material. So I stayed at 2, I'm kidding you. I didn't sell a million of them, but I saw sales go up. And so the point is, you can stay at the Hilton. It's a few $100, but you know what? You get your free airline ticket, you do your thing. But this was my vacation, and Alan didn't want to go, so he watched it online. I waved to him, and it doesn't matter where you sit. We got there at 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
We didn't need that for 7 o'clock. We didn't need it because you're really looking at the screens. It's so much. It is. I'm absolutely going back when I tell you it was so enthralling. You can do an entire podcast there. I'm telling you.
Sure, absolutely.
It's so much. That is the way. But if you and your wife want to go and you don't buy the Berkshire, just say to me, Anne Marie, save me. Because
I'm gonna buy. I know it's so funny because I had a fractional amount in Berkshire Hathaway A,
good.
and I bought it at $400,000.
Whoa.
Again, I did not have $400,000 in there. That would have been if I could have, yeah, and then sold it at 600,000.
Wonderful.
Whatever that is, 50%.
Yeah, you did just what fine. Yes. So
So I made enough money where I can buy Berkshire Hathaway B.
You could buy. So how old are your children?
Oh my goodness. 35, 30, 35, 32, 30, and then the twins are 22, 23.
God love your wife. I have to tell you, what about your child or not child who began investing? Maybe you should take, if your wife doesn't go, maybe
that would be a fun trip. Yeah.
That would be fun. And she would really he or she would eat it up.
She might like that. It's a great idea. I like that.
What a nice birthday present. Listen, frequent flyer points. I didn't do, but if you're going to go for $300, go get that ticket now.
Right. Yeah. Interestingly enough, right now, if you don't mind flying Southwest Airlines, because of Amazon days.
Yes.
So they're on sale. Also, if you go to Costco.com, you can buy, they have a $500 Southwest card that you can buy for $450.
Really?
And sometimes, like in January, it'll drop down to $425.
That's incredible.
And so right now you can go to any Costco. They have a whole rack of Southwest cards. Again, it's $500 card. You're getting it for $450.
Come on. This is what it's about. Yes, it's amazing. It doesn't love a deal.
And so the way I do it is I will buy the Southwest card, and I'm looking, and on top of that, so I just saved 10%. And then on top of that, I'm looking for a sale. So Southwest might put some seats on sale, boom, because from Phoenix to Las Vegas, it's fairly cheap.
No doubt. I'm sure it is, which is great. And you know what? That's how it works.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Now, let me ask you, and I don't mean to be rude because I should know this. Do you have a book?
I do.
Which one? I need to put it on. I need to go ahead and put my social media.
So I have a book called Dominating Your Mind.
Ooh. Okay.
Interestingly enough, I've been writing my second book, which is Dominating Your Money.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And basically it's just what I've learned about money and some of my shortcuts. And
oh my gosh, I love it. Listen, if you need an endorsement, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Thank you. I will take you up on that. I appreciate that.
I do, because who publishes your book?
I do.
Okay. So what is the name of it? What is your quote unquote publishing business name?
Oh, I'd have to look it up. It's on the back of the book.
Whatever.
I think it's Treehouse Publishing.
I love it. I love it. Good. It's so perfect. Okay. I see this. So Dominating Your Mind. I will put it up. And what I will do is I will do an email. I'll key it in. And for tomorrow morning, I will do it. I'll say, I don't know what you did last night, but listen, what I did, wait until you hear this podcast. And not only blah, 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 Bert, and I'll say, he has a book, and I'll pull it up. It's on Amazon, so I can go ahead and I will do that. You'll have a deal. That is
Thank
so
you.
wonderful.
That's very nice of you. I appreciate that.
Are you kidding? Listen to me. Is this not what life's about? Really? What else is there?
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it.
There's nothing like, I love it. Okay, definitely take me up on this because that's the key. Very nice. All right. Yes, I will do that. And I don't remember who else did my book for what Self-Made Millionaires do, but I'll look to see who else endorsed it. If there's anybody for my paperback, the hardback is $29.95. I
Okay.
didn't know this, but now I know. So the next book, like I'm doing somebody else's book, but it's unrelated to what we're doing now, you know, this kind of stuff. It's a great book. But anyway, forgetting about that, what happens is that book will be $29.95. I will not release the paperback until sales go down. Could be 6 months. Okay, that's why. And what the other thing I want you to do, Bert, you have a great voice. I want you to do an audiobook.
I am doing an audiobook for Dominating Your Mind
Perfect.
right now.
Perfect.
So let me ask you this. Ingram Sparks, what is Ingram Sparks?
Okay, Ingrid Spark is just like KDP.
Okay.
And what it is, that allows you to do the hardback.
KDP does that now.
If it does, then that's good. Then make sure you put it, but here's what I want you to do. Okay, then here's what I want you to do. If you go to draft, okay, to digital, DRAFT, and then number 2, drafttodigital.com, okay, that allows you to go wide. So that means the wannabe investor is on almost every site. So it's on Kobo, it's on, of course, Barnes and Noble, that it's at Target, it's at Walmart.com. They don't carry the books, but see, this is going wide. You're going to get a little less, but who gives a hoot? You know, just because it's everywhere. You have to do this. And then the other thing I want you to do, and I don't know if you did it, I just pulled this up. I'll look at it afterward. Did you get reviews?
I've gotten a few. I haven't gotten that many.
From who? But I'm going to tell you how to do it. Did you do Kirkus or Book Life?
I've not heard of Kirkus or Book Life.
You have to do this.
How do you spell Kirkus?
It's Kirkus.
Kirkus. And
Now,
what are they?
Oh, this is a big deal one. Kirkus is, it's like, quote unquote, it's prestige. Okay. What they do is, I think I paid $500 or $600, and it's not like I have a tree in my backyard, but you get, that's an editorial review. So what you do is you have to have, you don't have to, but you need to have the finished manuscript. Okay. Like I sent them the unformatted manuscript. Okay. That's number 1. And they take 4 to 6 weeks. They send it to somebody who has that topic. And so if you go to my book, The Wannabe Investor, under editorial reviews, you're going to see it. And then I did it for Book Life. Okay. Book Life. And then I think I paid 4, but see, it's a big deal because, and then, because here's what happens. Libraries look at it, bookstores look at it. And I'm convinced that's why some of them put it on their website.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's Kirkus. What was the other one?
Kirkus, KIRKUS reviews, and then book, and then capital L, one word, Book Life, Book Life. The other one you want to send it to, okay? But you have to make sure you have a good cover. You know, there's no BSing going on. What I would do, okay, here, I get, as I said, and I don't get broker's fees. I just love helping people. But what I would do, give me a second. This man, this is not an easy one to get to, but I'll tell you how maybe you can. Okay, Midwest Review. This is a big one. And I'm going to tell you the man's name, Midwest Review, okay? His name is Jim Cox, K-O-X. He gets 800 requests a week. And he throws the book away if he doesn't like the cover. Okay. And then he assigns it to people. Now, there is somebody who I have, and I'm going to give you his name. Okay. You can always contact me, but listen, please don't think I'm being bossy. You probably know this. I did not know so much. When you write a book, because this was the first time I did my book, I didn't have my publisher. So I hired, as I said, a few editors. The first editor who I liked, anyway, one was a wannabe. So I wanted to know, what is it that wannabes know? I know what I don't know, but I want to know, what do wannabes want to know? Second one was with Motley. I loved him. He was good. I wanted to know my voice, and the book was written, but he just edited. What he did, and it wasn't his fault because I was stupid, he wrote it in the AP style. And so then I sent it to the third person, I spent way too much money on this one, but I just had to have it right from a finance standpoint.
Right.
And she was magnificent. It was good. But she said, Anne Marie, it's an AP style. I said, what did that mean? She said, you need to write it in Chicago style. She said, it's not going to take much, but we're going to have to do this. I said, okay. And she's not a gold digger. So here's what I will tell you. Okay, I'm going to work with her, but I think it's possible. Okay, if you put your book on, I wouldn't swear my life on it, but I think there's a good chance you put your chapters, maybe just X amount of pages at a time, on ChatGPT and simply say, please write this, please change this to the Chicago manual style. It's just that the spacing is going to be a little bit different, this kind of stuff. Okay, that's number one. That's number 1 and 2. You can also use her. I love her. I can give you her when you're ready to do it. I love her. Like I'm not writing, and again, please don't tell anybody, but I'm telling you as another book, as another author, this next one, but please don't ever use it or do it. And I will help you. I'm so excited, which is might mean I don't have a life. The wannabe time saver. And I don't know how many X amount key ways, I say 40 key ways for becoming time affluent.
Oh, I like that.
You like that?
I
love
like that.
And
Yeah.
we're talking about the time affluence, because if you have to have a minimum, I mean, I'm reading and I'll source people 2 hours of free time a day. I don't know what that means, in order to be happy, and no more than 5 hours a day to avoid being depressed. And so we're going to talk about the importance of time and how time is like money and all that, and then do the must know, the key ways. So I'm only saying that to you because, listen, do you use sources? Do you quote people?
I do.
Good.
Yeah. In dominating your money, yeah, I'm quoting different people and different, what do you call it, sources there.
Okay.
Dominating your mind, it was more based on my experience, so there
Right.
wasn't that much quoting.
Okay, so if you went with this dominating your mind or your money, what she told me, because God, I was high maintenance, not high maintenance, like, and I had to do a lot of things. She said, Anne Marie, when you quote people, put the link right there. Just put it right there. And we'll
Yes.
take it out. So it's easier because then you have the source on the back. And if you want to get to 192 pages, and actually it's helped me. She said, do you want an index? I said, I don't know. And then I said, yeah, I definitely want one. So it's going to cost a little more because she paid an indexer. She had to sub it. But now, like when I looked up moats or I looked up Fiduciary, I could go right to that page. So it's worth it. And by doing that, you're actually adding pages. You with me?
I like it. Yeah.
I'm telling you, listen, I know how to fudge. I don't mean fudge, but you have to pad it, right?
Yeah.
And then
fudging is not bad.
No, it's not a bad thing. But let me ask you another question. With your book, just as another for getting more the words in, do you start with a quote at all? Anybody's quote, somebody else's quote?
I'd have to look at it.
Okay, I'm just giving you a little fudgy. Okay, I've done this with my last 3 books. What you do is, brainyquote.com, BRAIN.
Sure.
Okay, so that's what I said, okay, now I'm going to talk about stock market crash. Okay, and I don't quite know what I'm going to do yet. So I'll look for one that's relative to the tone of that section.
Right.
And then I put that in, and then it's credibility because you have Zuckerberg or you have Buffett or you have whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay, let me tell you one last thing. As I told you, Bookworm has I don't want to say a shop, but it has a presence at the shop, at this thing, at the shopping day.
Okay.
And what I learned this year, the only book they had was a Charlie Munger's good book. And I don't know if it was an exclusive. I had the big one, but I bought the other one for Alan. But of course I read it because he's not into it. I don't know why, but anyway. So what I learned, and I haven't done it yet, for Mind Your Money, Dominating Your Money, you can go to Bookworm and you ask them about carrying it, and they are the ones who will determine which, I think there are 40 books, will be at the shopping day related to money.
Oh, nice.
I know. Yeah, and I learned that from somebody by getting to the airport early on my way home, and one of the women told me A, B, C, D, E. The other man, he was a senior editor. I'm not gossiping because I don't gossip, but he needed the server's attention. It was just like a little breakfast bar. And he wanted what did he want? Whatever, Bloody Mary. He said, I'm so nervous when I fly. I said, you want me to hold your hand? He could have been my kid. He said, I need a Bloody Mary. I said, we'll get the server's attention. He was a former senior editor of Forbes.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It's everything. You will love it. You will love it, as I can tell you.
I can't wait. I'm gonna
Okay, well,
definitely go. I look forward to seeing you there.
You will, yeah, we will do that. Yeah, and I hope your daughter goes. What we'll do is we'll catch up one night for dinner. We'll have
Yeah,
fun.
that'll be
You'll
great.
love it. Okay, when I make my reservation, I will do my best to remember and I'll say they're taking it right now. Get it,
Great.
okay?
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Oh,
We'll
thank
talk to
you.
you later.
Take care. We're here for you.
All
Bye
right,
now.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Be cool and spank the subscribe button. You know you want to join the fun, right?